Welcome to the Springhill Toyota Mobile County Public Schools High School Showdown. I'm Mike Herndon.
I'm Brad Lowell.
And we're here to talk about this week's game of the week, Baker versus Vigor. But first, before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about the action we just saw in the first week of the season. Had a lot of great games. Blunt won the Battle of Pritchard. What game did you see? What stood out to you in the first week?
Well, I thought Williamson started out on a good note, defeating LaFleur. That was a big win for them. I know they came into the season with high expectations, building on this past season, so I thought that was a key win for them to start the year off. Of course, it was a tough battle with Davidson and Daphne to start the year, a big defensive struggle, but I thought
putting it mildly.
Yeah.
3-0 ball game.
But it was a really good ball game if you're a defensive guy to watch, and so I'm sure they have a lot to build on there also.
A lot of big hits in that game, and great play by both defensive lines. Davidson defensive line really stood out to me. Jeff Marks, Tyreek Williams, both of them had great games. Just got to find a little bit offense to go with it.
That's right. And of course, Baker starting the region off 1-0. That's obviously really big.
Yeah. The guy that was really impressive to me this past week was Trevor Andrews, the Theodore quarterback. 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards of total offense. Big win over Northridge. What a great way to start the season for them.
I agree. That's definitely, if you have a quarterback, I'm sure that's the way you want him to start the year off. So, but I agree, and I think a lot of those teams have the expectations coming in and what they can build off of from that first week, leading into this week.
Well, Baker comes into this week's matchup with Vigor 1-0 after a big win over Murphy. Vigor comes in 0-1 after taking it on the chin to their big rival Blunt. We're going to have conversations with Baker coach Danny Smith, with Vigor coach Deric Scott, a couple of players, and we're going to hear a little bit from their marching bands. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Yes, but see, you don't have a college degree.
Well, no, but
okay, well...
Wait. Before you skip over me, can you at least hear me out? No, I do not have a college degree, but I've been working 2 jobs since the age of 18. I've been doing internships while raising my little brother, and any moment that I can spare, I'm studying, just trying to better myself. Okay, I'm ready for this.
Wow. I'd love to hear more.
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. That was the Marching Wolfpack Band from Vigor High School. We're here now with Vigor coach Deric Scott. Coach, started off the season with Blunt. The game did not turn out like you would have liked, but obviously that's the biggest rivalry of the year for your program. What's it like to get that out of the way the first week and move on from there?
Well, it did not turn out the way we wanted it to, but it's good to get it over with. We came out. It's a good motivator for the summer. Throughout the summer and going into the season, obviously, it didn't turn out the way we would like, but it was a good opportunity for us to go out there and show out what we are. and obviously we got room to improve.
What were some specific areas that you see that you need improvement on before this week's game against Baker?
Number one, run defense. They are a very physical, Baker's a very physical football team, and they run the ball well. So we obviously have to go out there and play well in our run defense.
And Baker ran for 213 yards, I think it was, against Murphy last week. What do you see out of Baker that makes him run the ball so well, and particularly operate as an offense as a whole?
Well, I guess first thing that stands out is their offensive line, the size of their offensive line and the way they come off the ball. They're doing a great job out there. Kudos to Coach Smith and his staff for what they do, but we're going to come in there and try to stop the run.
Coach, you mentioned earlier, you and I were talking about non-region opponents, and of course, Blunt's one of them, but still a huge rivalry game. What is your outtake on playing tough opponents for non-region games compared to some schools? They want to play lighter schools to try to get more wins. How do you look at the way you schedule yours?
Well, it's twofold for us coming in. Number one, we want to schedule good opponents to make sure we're accurate representation of where we're at, number one. Also, number two, with the Vigor name, sometimes people not so willing to line up and play you. So we have to play those people that we can and that will play us. And generally, those are your larger schools.
Right, and I know and I understand more than anything, it's a long season, and sometimes, whether you win or lose, sometimes you learn more in your losses than you do in your wins.
Totally, and that's the message I preach to our guys all week. We're going to learn a lot from that game on Friday night, and obviously it was a loss, and but we're going to learn more about ourselves from that game than we will from a win. Winning is the best deodorant, they say. So as long as you're winning, you can kind of mask things, and things are seemingly in good shape when they're really not.
What were some bright spots for you, some players that stood out for you in the game?
Oh, I think there were plenty of bright spots in the game. If you go back and look, I think we played well in the special teams. I think we took advantage of some things in the passing game. Jeffrey Thompson got his first start. I thought he played well. I thought from a offense standpoint, James Jackson played well as a receiver. And we had a lot of new guys on the field that never played in a high school game before. And I think they went out there and they got that experience out the way. So I'm really excited for their next game from that maturation from game one to game two.
Obviously, big play is also a big part of the game, and you gave up a real big one right there, the second offensive play of the game to Blunt. Yeah. How do you address that moving forward?
Well, number one, when you give up big plays, they're usually going to affect the outcome of the game. And we gave up, from my recollection, right off, I know we gave up 3. And those 3 big plays really determine the outcome and the score of the game. So we have to go in there and eliminate those big plays. And from a defense standpoint, we always talk about eliminating big plays. And it's no different any week. Whether it's passing plays or running plays, you want to eliminate big plays.
Coach, you got a big group here representing your team. Who's the gentleman beside you?
To my left is Jeffrey Thompson, a senior, and he started at quarterback last week for us.
Okay. All right, good. Well, what did you think from Jeffrey, right? What did you think in your first game quarterback this year?
I knew it was going to be a big crowd out there, and I knew I had to go out there and make plays for my team. I know I had everybody on my back, so I had to go out there and try and execute on the field. Like Coach Scott tells us every day at practice, you got to execute on the field. And if you go soft at practice, then you got to go harder in the game.
Well, one thing I know about Vigor, I'm from Mobile area. Vigor becomes stronger as the year goes, always has. And I know you guys proved that last year when you made a big run there toward the end of the season and into the playoff season. I know that was a big moment for your guys to grow into the program that you're trying to create at Vigor.
Totally. We would love to start fast, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But, we are where we are right now. And the thing about it is, with our guys, I try to preach to them, and I hope that it's sinking in to understand that it's a long season and, there are going to be pitfalls. We have a saying, it's not a matter of if adversity comes, it's a matter of when adversity comes. And it's always going to be adversity. That's one of the main things we try to preach to them on a daily basis. In life in general, there's going to be adversity. And it's not so much that adversity, but how you handle it and how you step and how you come back from it. And that's what I hope they're learning from me as a coach, and as well as our coaches in our program. And I hope that we're building that program the way they understand that it takes hard work and dedication as well as some adversity to be successful.
Talked a little bit about the run game. In looking at Baker, what else do you see that could be keys to the win on Friday night?
Well, you know, they got explosive running game, and as well as they got some skilled guys on the edge that are explosive as well. So we have a full task ahead of us. Defensively, they pose a lot of problems defensively from what they do. They play fast, and they're big as well. So obviously, we're giving up some size to them in some areas, but also we're not going to give up any determination. Though we're going to go out there and we're going to play. The way we're accustomed to playing.
Jeffrey, what about you? What do you see out of the Baker defense as you're getting ready for them?
Just gotta watch how they roll the safeties down every play. Like basically just be able to read the field and know what coverages they playing, so I can get the ball out to my receiver.
Second straight game on the road.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll get back to Pritchard Stadium. Is that difficult playing two on the road right off the bat?
And you know, it comes with the territory. Last year we played 2 straight at home, so obviously the flip side of that is you're going to play 2 on the road the next year. But one thing we feel like our schedule is set up, and when we set up the schedule, we got 5 home and 5 away. So it's as good as it gets for us in high school athletics is to have 5 at home and 5 away, or you can lopside that deal, and then it's completely lopsided the other year. But right now we have 5 home games, 5 away games, and we're going to play them out. You know, and it is what it is. It comes along with the territory.
I think it's great to have that balance between home and away. It's really important for your team to be able to handle the different places that you travel to in preparation of what you're going to see in the, hopefully down the road, especially when you get to postseason and those crowds become more aggressive as time goes. So.
Right, and we're on the road at 2 hostile environments. You know, we was at Blunt last weekend, and now obviously this weekend we're going to be at Baker, which is another. They have huge crowds out there, and they have a lot of fan support as well as student section support. So we'll have some challenges there that we have to overcome, I'm sure. But what I'm most excited about is that the fact that we're going into someone else's home field, and we got to go play well. And that's a true measure of a good football team, is to go into someone else's backyard and play well. And you got to overcome everything that comes along with that.
Jeffrey, what about you? How was the atmosphere at Blunt? Did it surprise you at all, or?
No, sir. I'm always used to it. As a young kid, I always grew up around that environment, so I was used to it.
Kids in Pritchard dream of playing in that game.
Yes, sir.
Against Blunt and Vigor.
Yes, sir.
How does playing in that prepare you for this week and for the rest of the season?
It prepares me the same, but I just have to go a little stronger, a little harder.
Well, one last question. What do you think, we boil it all down to, what's the key to the game on Friday?
Just going out and playing the way we're accustomed to playing, and playing with an energy that's unmatched. And that's one of the biggest things with us is our energy and our starting fast. So that's really huge for us, as well as stopping the run and running the ball on offense. We have to be able to generate that run game that you spoke of. I think the stats were, you said, I think it was 260 we gave up, and we only rushed for 30 last week, and that's unacceptable.
Well, it's Vigor coach Deric Scott and quarterback Jeffrey Thompson, and the Marching Wolfpack band is going to play us out. Welcome back to Springhill Toyota. These are the Baker cheerleaders. That was the Baker drumline, and I'm here with Baker coach Danny Smith. We're going to talk a little bit about Baker's big win over Murphy last week and look forward to the big game of the week this week. Coach Smith obviously got down right off the bat against Murphy. Talk a little bit about what it meant to your team to face a little adversity right off the bat and come back and win the game.
Well, first of all, Mike, it's very important we got off to 1-0 start in a region, and then out the gate you got a region game, and we had to be ready. And facing a team like Murphy, who has a lot of athletes, and they always going to be ready to play when they come out to Hornet Stadium. But getting back to your question, getting a little adversity right there. After the first quarter, things didn't go away. We finally got caught up to the speed of the game, and the guys just settled down from the second quarter on. I just felt like they really come on their own, made a few adjustments at halftime, and really started playing a lot better in the second half. And I think our depth had a little bit something to do with the outcome of the game as the game went on.
It seems like this is an offense that you've got a lot of size, you've got a lot of different types of weapons. How does this offense differ from last year, and how pleased were you with how they came out the first game?
Well, I was pleased. There's always room for improvement. In the high school level, every year is a different skill set. And last year we had some tremendous running backs, and Trey McMillan, the quarterback, Deric Bracey. We try to get these guys out in space. And but this year, we got a different, like I said, we got a different skill set. And these guys, we got a little bit bigger running backs, bigger offensive line. So year to year, you have to tweak things based on the personnel that you got. And I felt like what we're doing offensively, it fits us a lot better than it did last year. And I tell you, you got to run the football in 7A football, and you got to stop the run if you want to win some football games.
Coach, I know that you guys were, I think, the only region game in the state last week, and which you and I talked about how important it is to start off 1-0 in the region, and against a team that normally makes the playoffs every year in region play. We all know as first game, you really don't know what to expect from your kids, how they were at. But what are some positive things that you think you guys did really well against Murphy?
Well, we was able to run the ball against them. We said I'd do that. I want to be a physical football team that runs the football and play action off of it. I think for the most part we did that. And defensively, I told the guys, I said, look, guys, we got to get 11 hats to the ball. We got to swarm to the ball. And, we did that. So that's some things that we did very well. And of course, there's always rooms of improvement. They always say that most improvements from week one to week 2. And by no means we're not satisfied. We're getting ready to play an outstanding Vigor team. And we're going to take one game at a time and get ready for Vigor, because I'm telling you, they are very, very good.
Talking about Vigor, they had a tough one to start off with Blunt right there, and talking about the run game, they gave up a lot of rush yards and didn't run the ball very well. I mean, is that, you look at that and you ran the ball for over 200,
yeah.
They gave up over 200. I mean, that played into the game plan a little bit this week?
I know it's Coach Scott from Vigor, and he is an outstanding coach, and I promise you they're going to be ready to stop us running the football. And Vigor has a lot of speed on that side of the ball. I don't know what went into the game as far as their game planning. Blunt has tremendous wideouts and stuff. Maybe they was geared to stop their passing game. It was kind of shocked them a little bit how Blunt was able to run the ball on them. But after, because that was week 1. Now you look at us and they're going to game plan us. I promise you they're going to be ready to play up front. And that's where the game's going to be won, is up front. Vigor's got an outstanding defensive line, and we're going to be challenged up front.
Coach, as a former head coach too, and you talk about from week to week, you truly, high school football, you don't know week to week what to expect. And in this case, we've had a lot of weather issues this week, and a lot of times it comes down to how you handle the week and preparation. And how was this week as far as you guys for preparation with the weather?
It's been a nightmare. Let me go ahead and tell you. I mean, it has rained every single day. Yeah. And I was talking to Coach Scott, and then they fight in the same battles we fight. And you go out there and practice, and you step down, your ankles just all the way sinks down. You got mud to your ankles. And it's going to be about execution, and it without not getting in our regular routine all week on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And tomorrow's going to be a little bit different practice. I think Thursdays are more of a walkthrough script type day, but losing those couple of days this week, not getting the work we wanted to get in. Our normal Thursday practice is going to be a little bit longer tomorrow, just as far as the execution standpoint on both sides of the ball.
Coach, tell us who you got with us.
This is Caleb Edmond, and he's our inside linebacker. He's also our snapper on extra point field goals and our punt team. He is a tremendous team player. He will do anything we ask him to do. And I just can't say enough for this young man, not just his football ability on the field, but his leadership skills. He does a great job of motivating, inspiring, and encouraging our teams, and he's the type of seniors that I really enjoy having around our team.
Well, as a former high school long snapper myself, I tell you it's the most important position on the field. If you don't believe it, just mess up once.
Yes, sir.
He knows that very well.
Yes, I do.
As a linebacker, though, you faced an awful good quarterback last week in Maurice Robinson, and he had some big plays, and I know he was tough to corral. Tell me a little bit about playing against a guy like that, and how does that prepare you for playing some of these other teams you're going to face?
Facing Murphy first week obviously is a huge challenge that you have to face, and especially with how athletic he is as a quarterback. He can move around the pocket, and we know that he could scramble. So the biggest thing I think last week was getting containment and keeping the quarterback in the pocket, obviously. And I think that has prepared us a lot for, as obviously Vigor has an athletic quarterback this week as well. So Murphy's quarterback runs just like Vigor's quarterback does, and I think that helped us a lot, just keeping containment with our D-line and linebackers and stuff. Always have to have a spy guy, always have a quarterback player.
Caleb, I'm an old defensive guy too, like Coach Smith, so I know that's where the players are, you know. But going back to your game with Murphy and the way you guys, you know, came back after they kind of took it down and scored to start the game out, and not panic speaks volumes of the way you guys answered, you know, not only in the first half, but also into the second half. Tell me a little bit about the defensive unit you guys have and the way y'all kind of came together to kind of, you know, regroup in that football game.
I think honestly it comes down to trust in what our coaches have prepared with us in the previous week. I think our preparation and the way that we get after it during the week is the way we're going to play on Friday night. And you just have to have trust in that game plan and trust in your other man that he's going to do his job. And obviously that's a big factor when it comes to doing well as a defense, especially facing adversity. And I think we did that really well as a team. We were just team players the whole game.
Coach, another key point of that game obviously was turnovers, and you got a couple big ones that helped you pull ahead. As you look forward to Vigor, what main things do you think are going to be the key points to winning this game on Friday?
You know, obviously, any game you go into is a turnover margin. You know, we emphasize a lot every week not turning the ball over. You know, we talk to our quarterbacks. You know, don't take a sack for number one. Number two, don't throw a pick. And our running back coach Mike Smith does a tremendous job with ball security, high and tight with the running backs. And I tell you, you go back and look at the games last year, the games that we lost. We was 6-4 going into the first round of playoffs, and 3 out of those 4 games that we lost, we lost the turnover margin, and it's critical. You know, you don't want to give the opposing team a short field to play on, and there's nothing wrong with getting a couple first downs and punting the ball. If they're going to score, make them put an 8, 10, 12 play drive together, because eventually they're going to turn it over, they're going to jump off sides or something. So that's what it's huge, the emphasizing at practice about turnovers, and that's going to be big Friday night. You know, and you lose a couple days of practice this week, and all your hookups and everything is not as smooth as normally is, and your route running and you're throwing and your timing might be off a little bit. So it's critical as far as the turnover margin with somebody getting ready to play like Vigor. That's going to be a big factor in the game Friday night, and plus, you know, who's going to win up front. You know, it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us on both sides of the ball with those guys.
Baker's 1-0, Vigor's 0-1. They meet Friday at Baker's home field, and we're going to let Baker's drum line take us out.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain, but there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you're also helping yourself.
Welcome back to Springhill Toyota. As we get ready for kickoff between Baker and Vigor here, we've got a full slate of games in the second week of the high school season. Brad, what's a game besides our game of the week that kind of jumps out at you this schedule?
Well, we're going to see a lot of schools in the region play this week. Last week, Baker and Murphy was the only region game in the state. This week, you're going to see a lot more, and it's really important for a lot of these schools to get started off as a 1-0 in the region play. But I think Davidson and McGill would be a pretty critical game in 7A Region 1 there.
Great game last year.
It was a great game last year, probably one of the best games in the state last year. And so I think that might set the tone a little bit early on in that region play. Of course, Theodore, they open region play at MGM, and so it'd probably be really important for those two right there to battle it out to see, start off 1-0 in the region.
I'm looking forward to seeing BC Rain and Citronelle. We hadn't seen either of them yet this year. BC Rain opened with a scrimmage game, so I'm looking forward to seeing what each of them have as they get started in their season. I think that might be a competitive game.
Yeah, there's been a lot of positive talk with both of those teams. Both those teams seem to be returning some players from last year to have some experience and seem to be pretty positive coming into the year. So I agree. It should
BC
be
Rain lost their quarterback for a part of the year last year, and he's back healthy. So
That's right.
It'll be interesting to see if they can take the next step this year. Thanks for joining us at the Springhill Toyota Mobile County Public Schools High School Showdown. Enjoy Baker and Vigor.